What's up, people? Welcome back in Kevin Thinning Stretch, Thursday, July 9th, and it's the best week of the year. Simple as that. All-Star Week. It's here. We're going to go through it all. It's going to be a lot of draft stuff. We're going to hit a mock draft where we can kind of talk about players, what we like, where they fit, things like that. But to start, we're going to break down the whole week, kind of touch on a couple of the things happening this weekend. Then we're going to do a quick standings check-in, see where we're at heading into the All-Star break. Spoiler alert, I don't know who's going to trade anyone at the trade deadline. It's like teams are kind of surging back that we thought were going to trade people. We'll get there. And then, we'll end it with a mock draft, get into the draft. But to start, I'll just rip through the schedule for All-Star Week in case anyone doesn't know. It's Saturday. This is coming out on Thursday, so in 2 days, we got the draft. I believe it is the first 4 rounds of the draft on Saturday. We're going to be touching on that today. Sunday is going to be the Futures game. We're also going to touch on that. I'm going to run through the rosters, sprinkle in a little bit on guys I like there. Monday, greatest All-Star event ever. Dunk contest, good for you. Happy second place. Home run derbies on Monday. That's going to be awesome. We'll do a little bit of talk on that with who's in it and what's exciting. I think there's 2 spots left. So, and then Tuesday, you got the All-Star game. You get the red carpet and all that fun stuff. So let's start it off with Sunday. So the Futures game, looking at these rosters, in the AL, Cade Anderson of the Mariners has been dominant. He was the 3rd overall pick last year out of LSU. People thought he could have gone 1. That's fair. And he's just looked awesome. There's a lot of Max Fried in his game. Jamie Arnold, same draft, looked like a 1-1 candidate going into last year. Super funky lefty for the A's. Tyler Bremner also went last year for the Angels at a UCSB. You got Carlos Legrande for the Yankees, who just throws gas. Ryan Sloan was a high school pick, I believe, 2 years ago for the Mariners. That's a big body and looks like he's going to be really good. Franklin Arias has been going off for the Red Sox and is a top prospect. He's an infielder. Caleb Bonnemer is a shortstop for the White Sox, who's kind of their next guy. He'll get jumped by whoever they take 1-1 in this draft on Saturday in terms of best prospect in their system. But as of right now, far and away the best prospect in their system. Leo DeVries was the piece of the Mason Miller deal, which tells you what you need to know about Leo DeVries. Stud for the A's. A couple other interesting infielders, George Lombard Jr. for the Yankees. We'll talk about his brother later, who's in the draft on Saturday. He's super exciting. Potential 5-tool shortstop for the Yankees. Lengthy build. JoJo Parker for the Blue Jays was in last year's draft, and he just hits. He's just a lefty masher that probably won't stick it short, but maybe will be passable there. And then Ralphie Velasquez is where we rounded out for the infield. He went to Huntington Beach High School, which I'm assuming if you're listening to this right now, you know where Huntington Beach High School is. It's local to us here. We'll talk about another Huntington Beach guy in the draft, which is going to be fun. But he's just a big power-hitting lefty, and he's looked so good since he got in the Guardian system there. And then the last guy we'll talk about here is for the Rays, Theo Gillen. He's listed as an outfielder here. He's been awesome. He's been probably the biggest riser out of that draft. Actually, behind Eli Willits, I'd say he's the biggest riser. And so it'll be exciting to see all those names. And then I'm looking at some names that, I'll be honest with you, I'm not too well-versed in what Nathan Flewelling has going on for the Rays. But I'm excited to see. So those are the names that, look out for those guys. But it's also fun in the Futures game to, see someone pop and you go, wait, I haven't heard about that guy, or I've heard very little about that guy. Let's run through the NL real quick. You got Liam Doyle, who got drafted, that was last year. Just a flame-throwing lefty that goes crazy on the mound for the Cardinals. Seth Hernandez for the Pirates, who was my favorite player in last year's draft. 6'5", super physical righty that can run it up to 100. Has one of the best changeups I've ever seen from a prep arm. Miguel Sime Jr. for the Nats. Again, biased. Put my hand up. Always biased. We're going to talk about two Nats here. Miguel Sime was a high school pick out of last year's draft. He touched 103 going into the draft, and he's been in low A this year, and it just hasn't looked fair. He's throwing all fastballs and sliders, and no one's touching anything. Like every fifth day when he starts, I just see a tweet. Miguel Sime, 5 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, no walks. Like he's dominating. Gage Wood's an interesting one because he was in last year's draft. He was a late riser in last year's draft because he pitched in the College World Series. He threw a no-hitter in the College World Series. So that skyrocketed his stock. He was talked about as potentially someone that could get the call to make an impact this season. So I doubt that happens, but that would be interesting to see someone who played in the Futures game make an impact in the postseason. You get to see Ethan Salas, which if you don't know the Ethan Salas story, he was a very touted prospect, I believe coming out of the DR, but international. And he was ranked as like a 16-year-old very highly. And then he had a meh year. He got hurt, had another meh year. And everyone was like, why was he ranked highly? Well, he's back, and he looks very good again. Breaking news, a 17, 18-year-old kid that got hurt twice is going to struggle. So he'll be very interesting to see. Looking at the infield, Jesus Mate is the best prospect in baseball on a lot of people's accounts. He's kind of like Leo DeVries and him are very similar prototypes of just alien shortstops. You're looking at Francisco Lindor types, right? Luis Pena, also of the Brewers, is another great prospect, but he gets outshone by Jesus Mate. And then my guy, I'm so excited to watch him, Eli Willits, 18 years old, tearing up high A. I mean, he killed single A to the point where they had to call him up. And then he went on a run where he hit like 5 homers in 6 days. He's ridiculous. He's still so young. He's going to be 18 this whole season. I'll be curious to see how much he plays in the matchups. Like if he faces a Gage Wood, that's what, a 4 or 5 year difference in age. And he just continues to impress and show that he plays older than he is. The outfield, there's too many Dodgers here. Their outfield prospects are ridiculous. Josue DePaula just hits big lefty, hits rockets. And then the other guy, we're going to talk about the two Dodgers. Mike Sirota just looks like one of the best prospects in baseball. And if you don't remember how they got Mike Sirota, he was the biggest piece in the return of the Gavin Lux deal. I know prospects don't always work out. There's a world where Mike Sirota accrues 0 WAR in the MLB. But to get that caliber of prospect out of a Gavin Lux trade is just a joke. Those are the Futures Game rosters. As I said, those are the names that really pop when you look at prospect rankings and who's very exciting. But give the rosters a look, watch the game, see who pops. It's fun. Next, we're going to go through the Field and Home Run Derby, guys. I think it's a little less interesting to talk about because the analysis of like, oh, who's going to win the Home Run Derby, it's kind of a crapshoot. There's some data. Usually if you just go with the best max exit velo, you're going to be right or right more than often. We're looking at Junior Caminero, who did it last year. Awesome. Ben Rice doing it for the first time. He's on pace for, I believe it's like 42 homers or 46. He's been awesome. I mean, they need him with Judge out, and he's been living up to it. Jack Caglione is maybe a name less people are familiar with. In his second year with the Royals, he was part of that Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens, Wyatt Langford draft, right? Yeah, he was part of that draft. Sorry, I was second guessing myself. He was the two-way guy out of Florida that they called college's Shohei Ohtani. He just hits laser beams. He's got a great chance of winning this. There's a lot of guys. I think the MLB finally figured out that, like, hey, if we just put a bunch of guys who hit the ball insanely hard, this is going to be fun to watch. So there's a decent amount of guys where it's like, he could win it, but Jack Kaggs, I could see it. Wilson Contreras, I don't think we talked about. Have we talked about the Red Sox-Nats scuffle? Hate the guy, so I hope he loses. Also, home run derby, Wilson Contreras, doesn't click for me. Maybe I'm shrouded in hate, but yeah, not much there for me. Jordan Walker, awesome. It's cool to see him in a year where he's truly breaking out, hitting a ton of homers and hitting rockets. Getting the recognition and being in an event like this where his tools really shine, very cool. The last one is awesome, and I also hate it. It's Bryce Harper. He only does it at home, I guess. If you don't remember, in 2018, his last season with the Nats, he did it. He won it with his dad. Very cool. I don't know why I hate this. Maybe it feels like I thought his home run derby moment was with us, and now he's doing it with the other team. I don't know. But his swing speed has been declining, which is kind of helpful in the home run derby. He's in his home ballpark. We'll see. I would put the favorites right now as some version of Caminero, Caglio, and Walker. But there's still two more spots, and those guys are all young, so who knows? I would assume one of the two spots that's available gets taken by Schwarber, but maybe Harper being in it, they don't want to face each other. I don't know. It'd be interesting. But that's who we have so far. And right now, we're going to rip a quick standings check-in. We're going to start in the AL, and we're going to go out east, because I keep telling you guys and myself that the Rays can't keep this up. They don't have the big bat to support Caminero. The middle of that lineup outside of Caminero just right? They're always going to pitch well. They're going to play defense. They're going to be fast. But they just look so good. And they're starting to separate from the Yankees. It's not even like they're hanging in there or just ahead of the Yankees. They're starting to separate. I believe they're 5 games up. The Yankees need Judge back badly. I kind of touched on Rice, kind of the holding it above water while Judge is gone, but he can't do it himself. So that'll be so interesting. I'm going to keep convincing myself. I do think the Yankees eventually track them down, but they need Judge, and that's still to be determined. I think he gets reevaluated later this month or early next month, and at that point, if he's on the shelf for another couple months, that's scary territory. The bottom of the AL East is kind of weird. It's kind of churning. The Red Sox have had a mini surge, and that's why I kind of touched on earlier of I don't know who's going to sell, because it felt like the Red Sox were one of the teams where it's yes, they're going to sell. Now, who knows? And the reason I say churning is because the Orioles have been bad, bad. They're now out of it completely. It's tough. I mean, they looked so good a couple years ago. Their farm system was unreal. And then they have a weird year, and then they have a bad year, and then they get a new manager, and they trade for Shane Baz, and it's okay, this is it. The Orioles are going to be in the thick of the AL East. Nope. Looks like they're falling out. We'll see. They still got time, but they got to go. The AL Central is so fun because the White Sox are holding strong. Weeks ago, I talked about how the White Sox were in first place and how awesome that was. I would have put the over-under on a week of them holding first place. They're still there. Good for them. The Twins, better than I thought. They're only 2 games back of the White Sox and first place. I just I think too, organizationally, I think the team on the field isn't the organization, right? So you can have an organization that's running poorly and still have a decent team. Now, the Twins might be running better under the new ownership, so we're TBD on that. I do, in the near future, want to do an episode centered around stock up, stock down on organizations, because this is the time of the season where trends start to like normalize, and you can see new front offices like the Nationals making an impact on their team. So we're going to do that soon. And the Twins are going to be an interesting discussion because they were just so crazy last year, selling 11 of their guys at the deadline. Whatever. Exceeding expectation, good for them. Kind of similar to the Red Sox conversation. The Tigers are creeping back in. They're 5.5 games back, which, isn't the best, but that's close enough to where you can convince yourself, hey, maybe we shouldn't trade Tarik Skubal. Which in that case, who's the headliner of the deadline? Pose that question to you. I doubt it's C.J. Abrams. If it's not Skubal, is it Aroldis Chapman? Is it Luis Arias? Who's selling? I don't know. And then at the bottom of that division, breaks my heart, the Royals are dead. Dead. 10 games back of the White Sox, which is, if you told me that going into the season, man, that's insane. The West is starting to get interesting. Like I said, who's selling? Because the Astros are surging. They're 2 games back. At a certain point in the year, it looked like the smart decision for them would be to put up a for sale sign, get a haul for Yordan, get a haul for Jeremy Pena, and just restock the farm and do a 2-year rebuild. Now, do they want to add a pitcher? Like what? I don't know, man. I think there's going to be a lot of like buying and selling and like mixing and matching of pieces. Could we see like major league talent for major league talent trades this deadline? Very interesting. The A's are the team in the West that's kind of falling out. They're 5.5 games back. Again, I just talked about the Tigers being 5.5 games back and not selling anymore. So that's not out of it, but they were tied for the lead for a while there. I think this division, and I keep saying this and it keeps not happening, but I'm going to keep saying it. I think post All-Star break is when the Mariners start to like claim the division. Like I said, I think they're a game up on the Rangers. Coming out of the break, their matchups are San Francisco, Cincinnati, and Texas. So you have 2 teams that have not been playing well, especially in the Giants. And then you have Texas, who's right under you. So if they get hot during that streak, that could just coast them to the end of the season with the lead in the division. But we'll see. Heading over to the NL. The NL East is awesome. The Phillies are here. No more runaway Braves. The Phillies are 3 games back. And the reason I bring those 2 teams up is because we have the preconceived notions, and you look at the roster on paper and you go, one of these 2 teams should win the East, right? The crazy part, the Marlins have the same record as the Phillies. They're both 3 games back of the Braves. Why can't the Marlins go do the damn thing? They've been so hot. I mean, they had like one of the best Junes ever, I think. I think they had like set their franchise record, and they were like top 10 records ever. But who knows if that holds up, and who knows if they trade people at the deadline. Sensing a common theme here. Who's going to deal people? It's going to be interesting. I'm going to talk about my team. The Nats offense is on another level. I have no words. I trust the process, and I know this isn't the year, but with how good the offense has been, it's like, damn, if we just had another good starter and a couple bullpen arms you could trust, it would be really fun. But trust the process. The farm system is skyrocketing. Whatever. A couple like nuggets on the Nats offense. James Wood is leading the MLB in runs scored. the next closest person is 21 runs back. 21. That's second place in the MLB. That's insane. They're also one of two teams, along with the White Sox, to have 3 players with 20-plus home runs going into the break. Who would have put money on those 2 teams going into the season? Interesting. At the bottom of the NL East, Mets are dead. Like we've talked about with other teams. I think they're like 15 games back at this point. Just a bad product, which is insane because they're paying so much money for it. Moving on to the Central. This is one of the few divisions where it's like you can see it shaping. The Brewers probably going to run this one. They're 6 games ahead of the Cubs. The one thing to watch, I would say, if there's going to be a division race, is like if the Cubs just go all in on the rotation and say, this is the year. I doubt they do that, right? Could they go get a Sandy and a 5-starter? Could they go get Tarek Skubal and a bullpen arm? Probably not, but if they really want to hawk down the Brewers and win this division, which I doubt they would invest that much into, they could do that. And then we're going to wrap up with the West, and this one's going to be quick. I mean, you blink, and the Dodgers have a 14-game lead. They're 14 games up on the next best team in the NL West. Which, who cares? It's the Diamondbacks, but who cares? They're 14 games back. And they're doing that with Kyle Tucker looking like one of the worst contracts in baseball. He's getting paid what? Is $62 million a year? He's been bad. It's not even like, oh yeah, he's been fine and not living up to the contract. He's been pretty bad. I know he plays decent defense. It's not like he has a cannon out there. It's not like he's the fastest guy. But at the plate, he's just been bad. And they're still winning the division by 14 games. So I don't know what to tell you, man. Congrats, Dodgers fans. Good for you. That's our standings check-in. Let's get to the fun stuff. If you know me, you know I love drafts. Baseball being the biggest one, even though the NFL draft is sick. I'm going to go through a mock draft I made. It's not going to be right. It's not going to be close to right. But I kind of paired certain players with certain teams to make some talking points and just kind of feel out where this first round goes here. We got 25 picks. The first round of the MLB draft, and honestly, the first 5 rounds are kind of weird because the bottom, 5 teams all went over the luxury tax, so their picks go down a certain amount, and then you have competitive balance picks and comp picks for free agents and PPI picks for Rookie of the Year winners. It's confusing. So we're just doing the top 25, which is all the people who didn't break the luxury tax in order from how bad they were and the lottery. I'd say the thing to look out for at the top is the top 3 feel solidified. We're talking about Rock Chalowski, UCLA shortstop, Vaughn Lackey, Georgia Tech catcher, and Grady Emerson, the shortstop out of high school. I believe it's Texas. It was always Rock this year. Like, it was, what was it? White Sox fans were saying something for Rock. I don't know. But it was always Rock, and then maybe like a month ago, people started to go, I like Vaughn Lackey better. And then maybe 2 weeks ago, people were like, Grady Emerson's the best player in the draft. So I believe those people. I don't think they're saying that just to be hot takey, but is that what the White Sox are thinking? I don't know. My thought here is I think that's the top 3. I think they go top 3. I know in baseball there's the funny business of overslot, underslot, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch my video about how the MLB draft works, please. It'll help for this Saturday, I promise. I think the best chance to break into that top 3 and really mess that up. Now, Tyler Bell has been mentioned in that top 3, and we'll get to Tyler Bell later. But my best guess at who could break up this top 3 is Jackson Flora, the right-handed pitcher out of UCSB, which is a pitching factory for how not elite they are at baseball. we'll talk about him in a little bit, but I think he's got the best chance. Like if one of the teams in the top 3 really wants pitching or really falls in love with him, I could see it. Let's start off. Number 1, White Sox. I have him sticking with Rock Chalowski. He's very good. I mean, he's like very Dansby Swanson-esque, where it seems like he's going to win a Gold Glove at short one day. The tools aren't crazy. He's not the fastest player. He doesn't have the most power. Doesn't have the craziest arm, but everything together is just so solid. And he still has like the 25-30 homer pop potential, at least, to go with that glove. It's awesome. I think the reason I do him at the 1 pick is because really late in the process, like, because the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of talk about Grady Emerson, Vaughn Lackey, who's going to go 1. As soon as the higher-ups get involved, which is pretty late, and the owners get involved, then it becomes like, wait, but this guy was supposed to go first the whole year. So that's why I put him there. I'm not confident in that. I know a lot of people that know their stuff that don't have him going 1. I know people that know their stuff that do have him going 1. So it'll be very interesting. I think 2, the Rays, is very interesting because I've heard they love Grady Emerson, and why wouldn't you? He's awesome bat. But I have him taking Vaughn Lackey because I feel like so much of their farm system and what they're so great at is developing these like middle infield types, and then they end up all over the place. When's the last time the Rays had a good catcher? Think about it. Think about a Rays catcher and think if they're good. I mean, Mike Zunino had a run, I guess. If the Rays like Lackey, I mean, that's a guy you plant back there. You don't have to worry about the defense at all. And the offense is like the upside of the offense is awesome. So I have him going Vaughn Lackey. Number 3, the Twins. This is where I got weird, and I talked about this. I have him taking Jackson Flora, the right-hander out of UCSB. Like I said, I think he's got the best chance to break into that top 3. He throws 99. His capacity to spin the ball is awesome. He has like 4 different breaking balls, and then he has a kick change that just looked great this year. At 4, we got the Giants, and they just scoop up a falling Grady Emerson. He's probably the best hit tool in the draft. Like, he's gonna hit. And he's got the frame to where if he grows into more power, he's gonna be awesome. He's gonna be your stereotypical Corey Seager comp where the tools aren't crazy, the defense isn't crazy, but he's gonna hit, and if he grows into pop, look out. He's a candidate to go 1-1. Wouldn't be surprised at all. I have him falling to 4 here just because I wanted to explore the scenario that Flora jumps one of those 3 at least. 5, Pirates, Drew Burress. Drew Burress, just as a baseball fan, is awesome. I believe he's 5'8", and he broke Georgia Tech's home run record for a career. His swing is optimized for air pull, which just means he's pulling the ball in the air. Self-explanatory. But when you're working with a frame that's like 5'8" like that, you need to air pull to be able to impact the ball like he does. And the swing is just buttery. Everything I've heard about him on the field and off, just like team leader, greatest dude, conducts himself so well in interviews. So he'll be interesting to see where he goes, just because if you're a scout, you don't love the size, but everything else is just so awesome. At 6, I have the Royals going with Eric Booth Jr. He is a high school outfielder, and he's your prototypical just speed freak. Believe he's out of Georgia high school, but he's going to play a good outfield. Doesn't have the craziest arm. Has some twitchy pop, right? Like you're possibly looking at like the Corbin Carroll prototype, where I don't believe that's the power he possesses, but like maybe he grows into that. So he's a very exciting upside player that I expect to fall into this top 7-ish. 7, Orioles, Jacob Lombard. We talked about his brother earlier for the Futures game. This is the younger brother, and he's a very similar type of player to his brother. He's a taller, lengthy shortstop with good speed. The fielding is a little bit more iffy. The arm isn't amazing, but right now the pop is present to go with the speed. So it's a very exciting toolbox to work with. And the family pedigree is awesome. His dad played in the major leagues. He was the first base coach for Team USA in this World Baseball Classic. His brother's a top prospect. You generally have higher confidence in people like that who've been around the game and have people to act as a sounding board who have been there before. 8, I got the A's taking one of my favorite players in the draft, and a guy that sneaky could go higher than this, Tyler Bell. He's a shortstop for Kentucky. He is interesting because when I was doing the exercise looking back at the last 3 drafts before last year's, he was drafted by the Rays kind of early, in the 2nd round out of high school, and he didn't go. He wanted to go to Kentucky. Obviously, the decision worked out. I'm sure he made some NIL money, and now he's projected to go top 10. But he's just awesome. The swing decisions are great. None of the tools really jump out at you, but being a switch-hitting shortstop and just being solid all around, very fun player. 9, we got the Braves going Gio Rojas. This is a guy out of Stoneman Douglas, which is just a powerhouse of a high school in Florida. Their manager, his son has 2 kids in the minor leagues. One is Devin Fitzgerald, who's been one of the highest rising prospects for the national system. He's part of the Mackenzie Gore trade. He has another brother, whatever. He is a left-handed pitcher who throws gas. It's a violent delivery it's smooth, but it's violent. And he's a lot of fun to watch. He can spin a slider very well. 10 to the Rockies. Going Liam Peterson. The reason I put him here is because the Rockies, they need stuff. They need guys that have stuff because it's always going to play down in Coors. So this is a guy that the results, if you just looked at his stats at Florida, not the best. But if you look at the pitch mix, it's disgusting. Another thing is Florida is not that great at developing pitching. Like we touched on earlier with Florida, how UCSB was a powerhouse at putting out pitching. Florida's not good at it. So, an org like the Rockies, who has a new front office and is more forward-thinking, might think, hey, this guy has insane stuff. Let's tweak him. Let's get him in our lab. Do what Florida wasn't doing for him. And let's get a guy who might be able to actually have stuff at Coors. That'd be interesting. 11, Nationals. I'm taking my guy here. It's Jared Grindlinger. We touched on Huntington Beach High School with Ralphie Velasquez earlier. This is the guy out of Huntington Beach High School this year. He is potentially a two-way guy. He's also a reclass. He was supposed to be in next year's draft. He moved up a year, and he's 17 years old. Most people are saying the bat is probably what sticks because in his summer showcase circuit where he played for Team USA, his contact rates were unreal, so good. He was making contact with everything. And he has the frame to grow into pop. He's probably going to play outfield. Maybe if he gets big enough, he develops into a first base DH corner outfield type of guy, but I see him as probably a corner outfielder. He's not toolsy enough to play center, most likely, but we'll see how it goes. The reason I have him here to the Nationals, and this is just me dreaming, vision boarding, whatever you want to call it. Paul Taboni, the president of baseball operations, when he took the job and he had his introductory press conference, one of the things he said just sticks in my mind of we, as an organization, want to be the envy of sport. He's not saying we want to be the best organization in the NL East or the NL or baseball. He wants to be the best run organization in sports, which obviously is a lofty goal. He's off to a great start. But if you truly have that much self-confidence in your organization, you take the 17-year-old kid that could be a two-way player and you develop him as a two-way player. And that's what I'm hoping for. If he's just a bat, fine. If he's just a pitcher, I doubt that happens, but fine, right? As a pitcher, again, another violent lefty. There's a lot more effort than Gio Rojas, but it's awesome stuff. I would love to see this. I mean, stick him in the developmental league or stick him down in West Palm Beach at the spring training complex and just let him develop for a year, 2 years. Try to do it both ways. That'd be so fun. At 12, I have the Angels. This is going to be one of the most telling picks organizationally because they moved on from Perry Minasian. Who's running the show? Now, if this is like quick-moving college arm, then Artie's pulling the strings, and this is not a good sign. There's a world where they take someone where I'm intrigued, and it's like, okay, is John Mozeliak, who now is in the GM, the interim GM position, is he moving this a little bit in the right direction? I have him taking Cameron Flukie, which would be probably a fast-moving college arm. I'm not going to change the way I see what they do until they show me they can do it. So I'm going to mock them for the quick-moving college arm and say nothing's going to change, and they're going to keep pushing to win when they don't have the chips to do it. 13, Cardinals, Ryder Helfrich, catcher out of Arkansas. He was great this year. I mean, his contact rates were great. No concerns about him sticking at catcher. He's going to be great back there. 14, the Marlins. I have him taking Derek Curiel. I was looking for another fit. I know the Marlins really like their high school pitching. We were kind of in a weird spot here. Like, I don't have another high school pitcher going the rest of the draft. Let me double check that. Yeah, no. So there's not really a high school pitcher to be had in this area. Brody Bumila is a lefty out of, I believe, Georgia, a high schooler, big lefty, like 6'8", 6'9", that throws like 101. He would have been an interesting pick here, but he showed up to the combine and they revealed that he had another injury, another elbow injury, which he's already had Tommy John. So I think that's a situation, which unfortunate timing, but I think he probably falls down boards. Does he go to college now? I don't know. But I have him taking Derek Curiel, who is a contact, kind of just your all-around average prospect. He's an outfielder for LSU. Sweet lefty swing. I mean, we're talking like the Michael Brantley smoothness of lefty swings. But the Marlins have kind of picked guys like this when they don't have a high school arm in the first round. So I saw that as maybe kind of a fit. The Diamondbacks, I have taken Trevor Condon, a high school outfielder. This is the Corbin Carroll starter kit, kind of like I talked about with Eric Booth Jr., but a lot more like twitchy. The speed, the acceleration, the twitch on the swing. It's awesome. The Orioles kind of lend themselves to that type of player early in drafts too, but the Orioles pick at 7, and I don't see Condon going that high. So I like him as a fit in the Diamondback system. 16 to the Rangers is Chris Hakopian. He played second base for Texas A&M. He probably ends up at first. Best case scenario, maybe he learns and he's a decent third baseman. But this is a guy who just rakes. The bat is awesome. He's a right-handed hitter. And it's just all around. The pop isn't like out of this world, but the contact rates are good enough to where the pop plays. If you end up with a first baseman, maybe you're not stoked on how much power output he gives you. But if this is like a okay fielding second baseman or decent fielding third baseman, the bat plays for sure. 17 is the Astros. This is Ace Reese, and he went to Mississippi State. He's a first baseman. He's going to be like the first base DH prototype. Maybe you can get away with it at a corner outfield, but I seriously doubt it. This is just all about pop. Big lefty swing. And the contact rates aren't the best, but when he touches it, it goes. Like, these are some of the best exit velos in the draft. The Astros like taking guys like this. They took Xavier Nyans was either last year or the year before that. Very similar profile, but you got to see him do it in college, and he did it on the big stage. 18 with the Reds. I got him taking AJ Gracia, who's a fun outfielder out of Virginia. Another lefty hitter. He's probably going to end up in a corner, but he's one of those guys that you could kind of dream on being like a pretty damn good hitter. He's not like Reese, where it's like he needs to hit the ball for the power to play. Like, he's going to hit the ball and the power plays. So he's not a 5-tool player. Like, you're getting him for his bat, and you're going to stick him in a corner. But if that's what you're looking for, he's a great option. And I think he's on the safer side of working out. 19, the Guardians. I got him taking Aiden Ruiz. He's the late first round, like, actual scratch off ticket, right? A lot of the people late in the first round, you kind of know what you're getting, and you're obviously not getting like a 5-tool player. This is maybe your shot at that. There's one more, 2 picks from now, but this is probably your best shot because you have that developmental runway because he's a high school kid. You know what? Let's skip 20. Let's go to 21 and talk about the other guy that's truly a scratch-off ticket. That's Justin LeBron. I have him here going to the Padres. Just an insane athlete, and I mean, when he connects, it's nasty. When he's moving on the base paths, he glides. When he's out in the field, and his highlights in the field look great, but the swing decisions aren't great. The end zone whiff isn't great. Those are things that are really tough to turn around for a player as an organization. So I don't think a team takes the chance until like late teens or the back end of the first round here. He's got the upside if you can fix that swing and miss, and you can fix those swing decisions to where he should be talked about top 10, top 6, but it was just too rough of a year for him to do that. Skipping back 1 pick, the Red Sox at 20, Cade Townsend. Cade Townsend's interesting because he looked awesome. He's a right-handed pitcher out of Ole Miss. If you were tapped into the College World Series at all, the interesting thing about Townsend, he was Ole Miss's best pitcher throughout the whole year, undoubtedly. Taylor Rabe was also pretty good, and he probably either leaks into the first round or goes in the second round. But they didn't use Cade Townsend once. I mean, you're playing in the College World Series. You obviously want to win every game. They didn't use their best pitcher. It was because Rabe got very hot at the end of the year, and then their Friday starter is a guy they have insane loyalty to, which, okay, fine, but when you get booted out of the College World Series and you don't use a first-round caliber arm, that's tough. But he's good. He's not the biggest, but his pitch mix is pretty good from the right side. 22 Tigers, Hunter Dietz, left-handed pitcher out of Arkansas. His stuff, he was talked about preseason as like Arkansas coaches were seeing him in scrimmages, and they're like, he could be the 1-1. Like, he could be the best player in college baseball. Didn't work out for him like that, but that's the stuff you're getting from the left side. Very exciting. 23 Cubs, Logan Redeman, who's going to be one of the more interesting players because he was kind of seen as like a 2nd to 4th round type of guy coming into the season, and then he surged. He was disgusting all year. His stuff played up. And for a while there, it looked like, oh, you can pencil this in to the Angels at 12 because he's going to be a quick-moving arm, and he's just been so great. And then he got hurt, and there was UCLA said, oh, he's coming back any second, and he just never came back, which their season ended short in the Super Regionals, so we didn't get to see that. The good thing for him that's working for him, he went to the draft combine, which you don't usually see from college guys that had like really good seasons like that. But he went to go pitch to prove that he's healthy, and he did, and he looked great. So if he goes higher than this, wouldn't surprise me. But the injury does scare teams. So we have him sliding down to 23 here. 24, The Mariners, I haven't taken Daniel Jackson. Daniel Jackson is a very interesting player. He played for Georgia this year, and he won the Golden Spikes Award, which means he was the best player in college baseball. He's pretty good behind the plate. He's not Von Lackey. Von Lackey's going to be great behind the plate. But it's not like you're concerned about him sticking at catcher. Like, he's going to be good enough for sure. The very interesting thing about him, he was a 30-30 guy as a catcher. He hit 30 bombs and stole 30 bases. Now, I don't think that's like he's JT Realmuto fast as a catcher. Now, I know Realmuto is old. You have to remind yourself, Realmuto could move back in the Marlins days. I don't think he's that. I think maybe the stolen bases were a little bit more circumstantial, but obviously he's a good enough mover to steal 30 bases in college. The 30 home runs, you might be asking, hey, if he won the Golden Spikes, why is he going at 24? The 30 home runs, he plays in a bandbox. I mean, Georgia's field is conducive to homers, to say the least. He's also, his frame isn't the craziest. He's not the biggest guy. But all around, very exciting player. I mean, if he sticks with that pop and he's stealing your 30 bags, he's not going to be. He'll be an interesting prospect. And then 25, the Brewers. I have them doing what they do. I have them taking a high school shortstop to develop in Taj Marchand. Just kind of the toolkit. He's young. The Brewers are so good at this. If you look at their top 10 prospects, and they have like 2 of the top 5 in the game, they're all just like freak alien shortstop center fielders, and then they move them to a certain spot or they trade them. That's it. Yeah, very excited for this draft. I'd say it's a down year. The top of this draft is fun. The top 3 is certainly worthy of being like in the top 5 conversation in a lot of drafts, most drafts. But after that, once you get like to the 10-ish range, it kind of just becomes like, okay, there's not too much to dream on when we're talking like top 15 pick. But the good news is, early scouting of next year's draft, the top could be very exciting. We're still going to get great players out of this year's draft. I don't anticipate it being a 2024 draft that we've talked about so much on this show, where you look through and 2 years later, half of these guys are all-stars. But there's a lot of exciting pieces in this draft. So please watch the draft. If you have any questions about the draft, social media, YouTube, anything, Kevin Thinning Stretch or at KIS Pod. Yeah, I would love to answer questions about the draft. That's going to do it for us today. If you made it this far, thank you. Go watch the draft. Go watch the Futures game. Go watch the Home Run Derby. Go watch the All-Star game. Have a great week. It's the best week to be a baseball fan. Philly's going to be so sick for the All-Star game. Yeah, have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next week.